when family loyalty becomes the third person in the relationship. This episode pushes everything to the edge, because what looks like a simple disagreement slowly turns into a test of identity, boundaries, and emotional loyalty. And the real meaning of the episode only becomes clear toward the end. So stay with me until the final moments where the pressure finally shows its true cost. The most intense moment hits immediately when the tension between Dylan and Petya stops being about daily habits and suddenly becomes about power, influence, and fear of loss. Because what we are really watching is not an argument about phone calls or visits, but a deep reaction to the idea that love might be divided instead of shared. From my Pereira Mer, What Saint-Templat here exposes a classic triangle dynamic where Dylan feels emotionally anchored to his mother as a source of stability, while Petya experiences that closeness as a threat rather than a comfort, which explains why every small interaction feels amplified and emotionally loaded. The reaction we see from Petya is not random frustration, but a psychological response rooted in control anxiety, because when someone feels they cannot predict how decisions are influenced, they start questioning intentions, loyalty, and even the future of the relationship itself. Dylan, on the other hand, appears genuinely confused rather than malicious, and my interpretation is that he truly believes transparency equals honesty, without realizing that sharing every detail removes emotional safety instead of building trust. One of the top moments in this segment is the confrontation itself, because instead of resolving anything, it exposes how differently each person understands respect, with Dylan seeing openness as care, while Petya sees boundaries being crossed repeatedly. The public reaction to scenes like this is usually split, and I can already feel viewers asking themselves in the comments whether family involvement should ever reach this level, or whether adulthood requires a clear emotional separation even when intentions are good. What makes this situation emotionally heavy is that neither side feels heard, because Dylan feels accused for loving his mother, while Petya feels ignored in her need for privacy and autonomy, creating a cycle where every explanation sounds like an attack. From a behavioral perspective, the insistence on limiting contact is less about numbers and more about reclaiming emotional space, because when someone feels crowded, they often react by demanding rules instead of asking for reassurance. This is where the impact becomes personal, since viewers who have lived through similar dynamics may feel triggered, reminded of moments when love felt conditional or shared with an invisible third presence that never left the room. As the episode moves forward, the unresolved tension quietly promises consequences later, and if you are watching closely, you can already sense that the real test of this relationship will not be about arguments, but about whether either of them is willing to change how they protect the person they love most. The moment the conversation circles back to Dylan's childhood closeness with his mother, the emotional temperature rises sharply, because what we are really witnessing is a clash between two attachment styles that were never properly acknowledged or negotiated before this relationship escalated. In My Pereira Mer, Dylan's insistence that this bond will never change is honest but incomplete, since long-term partnerships often require redefining emotional priorities without erasing family history, something he does not yet seem ready to fully process. Petya's reaction, which many viewers may initially label as excessive, actually reflects a deeper fear of being permanently compared, overridden, or subtly displaced in moments that should belong only to the couple. One of the top moments emotionally is when accusations of control surface, because at that point the conflict shifts from behavior to character, and once partners start defining each other through negative labels, repair becomes significantly harder. The public perception of this dynamic will likely be intense, as audiences tend to project their own experiences with over-involved parents or misunderstood partners, which is why I expect strong reactions and thoughtful comments from viewers who see parts of themselves in this struggle. What Saint-Templat here also highlights how unresolved financial stress quietly fuels emotional conflict, since pressure around money often magnifies existing insecurities and turns personal habits into symbolic battles. From a psychological standpoint, both Dylan and Petya appear trapped between wanting reassurance and fearing dependence, which creates a paradox where closeness feels suffocating and distance feels threatening at the same time. The impact of this segment lies in its discomfort, because it forces us to confront the idea that love alone does not solve structural issues like boundaries, influence, and emotional hierarchy. As the scene closes without resolution, the tension lingers deliberately, keeping viewers invested and subtly promising that future decisions will carry heavier consequences than the arguments we just witnessed. If this analysis resonated with you, take a moment to share your reaction in the comments and support the vlog by liking and subscribing, because conversations like this deserve space to be explored honestly and in depth.